Hi guys, and welcome back to the Arsenal Remontada. I mean, that name is just becoming more difficult and difficult to justify, but gotta run with it until the wheels fall off. But listen, today I want to talk about the Man City game, and I want to talk about the transfer window and just everything to do with the current climate of Arsenal, because the last few days have been so mad. I'm 29 years old. Yeah. I've been supporting Arsenal for about 16, 17 years. And from my perspective, people can talk to me about 30, 40 years ago, what was happening at the times of people like George Graham and all of these managers. I wasn't alive, or I wasn't really at an age where I can remember them. But I can remember the recent history of Arsene Wenger, and I can remember obviously Unai Emery and now Mikel Arteta. And for me, the current climate of Arsenal is probably the worst I've ever seen it. Now, I want to start with the Man City game because it links through all the way through to what's happening at the moment with Arsenal. The Man City game started, and I don't really want to talk about the result. I don't want to talk about the performances. I don't want to talk about the tactics. I don't want to talk about what went wrong on the day, because that's all been said, and everything that I'm going to say is probably been regurgitated a million times by fans up and down the country and all around the world. Why did this person start? Xhaka red card. It shouldn't have been a foul on Chambers, and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm not really going to get into that. What I do want to talk about is I want to talk about the setup in terms of why the personnel were changed, were picked, certain players, and how this links to the current situation at the club. Now, I'm sure I speak for myself as well, obviously, and I speak for all the fan base when I say that when we saw Kolasinac in the starting lineup, and when we saw Cedric in the starting lineup, everyone was confused. After Cedric's poor performance against Chelsea, and after Kolasinac was basically on his way out, about to terminate his deal, and how have we gotten to a point where they're starting away from home against the Premier League champions? Now, what we've seen since the beginning of the season is an uninspired Mikel Arteta. You can tell by the way he talks in his interviews. You can tell by the way his demeanor, from his body language, from the tone of it, to the tone of his voice, to his kind of he just does not seem happy. And part of the reason for that is because he's probably pissed off at the but probably we haven't done in the transfer window what he wants and what he thinks is needed for the squad. Now, when you think about that, and you put them that you understand that we're at the beginning of the Premier League season and your manager is uninspired, what kind of energy does that send to the players, to the club? Even the fans, from when before the season started, the fans were uninspired. The fans didn't feel any sort of kind of like excitement towards the new season. Everyone just felt that literally the expectations was on the floor. People were saying with this squad we won't finish top 10, etc., etc. And that filtered through from the players to from the manager to the players to the fans. It was a really bad situation. Now, what I'm trying to get to is this Manchester City game was almost kind of like a climax of the beginning of the season. That Manchester City game, when you see Kolasinac there, and when you see Cedric there, and when you see Lokonga's on the bench, and when you see these kind of decisions, You can say that it's incompetent. Of course you can say that. And really and truly, if these are decisions that he's sticking by, then I think we would all agree that they're incompetent. But when you look at it in the wider and the grand scheme of things, there's a reason for everything. Yeah. I don't believe that Arteta started Cedric at right back because he thinks that Cedric is a better fullback than Ainsley Maitland-Niles, or he thinks that Cedric is a better fullback than Chambers, just as an example. I don't believe that. And I don't believe that he started Kolasinac at left centre-back because he thinks that Kolasinac is a better defender than Pablo Mari, or putting Kieran Tierney at left centre-back and Nuno Tavares at left wing-back. I also don't believe that. So where are we going with this? Because you got to think about kind of like the school of thought that Mikel Arteta's come from, the manager that he was an assistant to, and these kind of things. And Pep Guardiola has done this before, and Arteta comes from a school of thought where he likes to send messages to the club. He done it all the way through last summer with his interviews and his press conferences about we're going to be left behind if we don't spend, and all of this kind of stuff, and the investment that other clubs are spending, and we'll get left behind if we don't do the same, and all of that kind of thing. So my opinion is that he's put out a team there that he knew is probably going to get walloped. But it sends a statement to the club on two different things. Firstly, he's probably putting out to the club that, listen, I need a right back. I need a starting right back, because if you guys think that Ainsley Maitland-Niles is my starting right back, then forget it, because I'm not even going to play him. Look, this is my backup right back at least, or he's my starting current right back, and that's Cedric. And he was absolutely diabolical. And that's not just my eyesight. That's backed up by the numbers. 0 duels won, 0 successful crosses, 0 this, 0 that, 45% pass success rate, all of this kind of craziness for a professional football player at the age of 29. Yeah. So Mikel Arteta is categorically trying to make a point to the directors, to the owners, to the players that, yo, listen, these guys are not at the required level, and this is what is going to happen if I'm having to play these guys week in, week out, as in my starting lineup. We can talk about backups. We can talk about, not everyone's going to be able to have like Manchester City £50 million backups, Ake 45 million and all of that kind of stuff. But you have to have at least a competent first 11. Now, and then you can talk about backups. But our backups are, who should be our backups, are our starters. And I think Arteta was probably trying to make that point that, yo, listen, these are my starters, you know. If Gabriel is injured, I don't have the confidence in Pablo Mari. Look, I'm gonna have to play Kolasinac, and this is a point that has been made. Yeah, and we got whipped 5-0. Unfortunately, one of the players that he's doubled down on did what he does best and got sent off. And Arteta's probably thinking, I'm going to lose this game anyway. I don't think he expected to lose it in such a bad manner, and which is one of the reasons why so much pressure got put on him after that game, because he was probably expecting to lose, but not 5-0. Absolutely destroyed, 85% possession. We had one shot off target. We completed 100 passes. It was ridiculous. It was frankly, it was really embarrassing. So when you think of that, I do think that he tried setting out a point. It probably went a little bit left because Granit Xhaka, who you can't, Mr. Non-Reliable, got sent off. He did the same thing against Burnley last season. When the chips are down, this is what Granit Xhaka does. Good player, but this is what he does. Not reliable at all. Yeah. So this is what I think he's done. I think he's just absolutely just sacrificed this game to make a point. And then that moves on to the wider picture. Why are you having to make a point? What's going on? What's the reason? Because when I'm seeing some of the interviews that he's making about, oh, we've tried to do this and now we're going to try doing this, but it depends on this and that and all of this kind of stuff, you can tell that he's so uninspired. He has no faith in the club to be able to do what he wants to do. He has no faith in the business that has already been done. And then further to that, he's having to sacrifice games and he's having to play players that he doesn't think are good enough. By the way, remember, Cedric didn't get a look in at the end of last season. Now suddenly he's our starting right back. How does that work? Kolasinac, we were looking to terminate his contract. Now he's playing a left centre back ahead of our left centre back backup, who is Pablo Mari. Now, whether you think that he's good enough or not, he was signed and he's our left centre back backup. And now Kolasinac is starting. So why is he having to make these points? I think it's quite clear. I think there's an obvious divide. There's an obvious divide at the moment at the club. There's a ridiculously obvious divide between Arteta and EDU. I think that the ownership probably that has not got any control over this situation. The ownership doesn't know how to run a football club. The ownership what the ownership has done right now at the moment, what it's done is it's put in a specific regime, a specific structure with personnel, and it said we need stability. This is going to be the structure, and these are going to be the personnel. But the personnel are wrong. The people that you've got in charge at the moment are wrong. If you're going to get in a rookie manager, you can't surround a rookie manager with inexperienced people. EDU is inexperienced and Vinay is inexperienced in the positions that they're in. You can't then surround them you can't surround a coach like that with inexperience and then at the same time make him manager, so that all of the kind of like the man management, the structure of the club, the finances, the players, all of this kind of thing are all lumped on the coach. For me, the structure that Arsenal had when Arteta came in to the club, where he was a head coach, was the correct structure. Don't let him get involved with all of these man management and all of this kind of stuff. Leave that to the technical director, and the director of football, and you just focus solely on management of management on the pitch, tactics, building up a style of play, a philosophy, all of that kind of thing. And it worked because we won an FA Cup. So that structure actually has success to its name under the current manager. It worked because we won an FA Cup. But true to form, Vinay's inexperience got Arteta a promotion, and it gave Edu a demotion. Now that in itself, is going to cause problems. You as an individual, if you're working at a specific company and a new guy comes in, and that guy has now suddenly, after 3-4 months, been promoted and you've been demoted, and now you're suddenly at the same level, how is that going to make you feel? And secondly, you're not going to be happy with that. You're not going to be happy. In business, and in the way business is run, especially at football clubs, because and when you have especially at football clubs and with a manager like Mikel Arteta, who has a specific style, a specific philosophy, certain profiles that he wants at the club, certain players that he doesn't want, certain players that he does want, all of this kind of thing, dual leadership will not work. It will not work because you've got absolutely ardent and extreme views on players, on a style of play, on who can succeed at that style and who can't. So in that situation, what can you do? You can either go at loggerheads and it completely goes to shit, or it can somehow work and you can go forward. And there might be a third option where actually the CEO in charge looks at it and says, you know what, this is not working. I'm going to need one guy here. And he chooses one guy over the other. Now, the manager should never, ever be that guy. No, the manager should not be the person that is fully in charge of the whole club and the way it works. He shouldn't be in charge of that. This shouldn't be in the same situation as Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger built up credit in the bank. Mikel Arteta doesn't have that credit in the bank yet. He doesn't have the accolades. He doesn't have the credentials yet. So he shouldn't be in that situation. We should not be handing the reins over to Arteta at the moment. They can talk about him being the center of the project, and that's completely fine because he can bring results onto the pitch if he was given that sole responsibility. But he hasn't been. He's been given a responsibility that's wider, and this has led to a clash between him and him and Edu. And unfortunately, we've got a CEO that is not experienced and has not taken the right decisions. Vinay should be putting an end to what is happening at the moment between Arteta and Edu. It can't continue like this. It's so obvious that there's issues between them, and the reason that I say that is because you can tell by the demeanor of the manager that he's not happy with the transfer dealings. And if you're not happy with the transfer dealings, then you can't be happy with the person that's doing the transfer dealings, and that person is Edu. So naturally, it's going to be that I'm not happy with yourself as the person that's in charge of those specific dealings. Now, what I would say is Mikel Arteta has a point in terms of his viewpoints and his specific ideas towards the way Edu has run, or his job and the things that he's done in his job, etc. But Arteta also needs to shoulder a lot of the blame. Now look, Arteta may be an amazing coach, and Arteta may be very good at implementing formations and coaching and all of this kind of thing, and tactics and building up play and progression and all of this kind of thing. No problem with that. But Mikel Arteta, you can tell he's very, very robotic in the way that he deals with players. It's either you can bring something to the table or you can't bring something to the table, so I'm going to just freeze you out. And for me, I don't know if that really works. Like, I don't think you can't have a specific personality like a Guardiola what he did with Yaya Toure, or like what Guardiola did with, I don't know, Joe Hart, or these kind of players, because you haven't got the same credentials as Guardiola. You haven't got the same credentials as someone like Mourinho, who can freeze out someone like Kevin De Bruyne when he's at Chelsea. Or he can freeze out someone like, I don't know, whichever player it is. He can freeze out someone like Pogba and Man United. Because he's got, and even then, these players somehow will create the toxic atmosphere to get these managers sacked. And Arteta has done this a couple of times at the club. Now, I want to move this conversation to the Maitland-Niles situation. Now, Maitland-Niles should not be in this situation. Now, whether you think what Maitland-Niles did was unprofessional or professional, yeah, I don't want to talk about Maitland-Niles per se. I don't want to talk about personnel. But whether you think that Maitland-Niles, what he did was professional or unprofessional, and I would agree that it was unprofessional, it shouldn't be a situation where at this stage of the season, he still doesn't know whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go. How has it got to this point? Maitland-Niles might have been wanting to play as a centre mid all his career. That might have been the case. But if he's coming back and he's saying that he wants to be a right back, I'm not saying that you should then put all your plans on hold and stop buying a right back, because this guy has been flip-flopping and he's come back and he said now he wants to play right back, and it's just you have to go with whatever Maitland-Niles wants. I'm not saying do that, but at least give the guy an opportunity. The guy's humbled himself and he's thought long and hard about it, and he's taking people's advice on board, and he's come back to Arsenal and he said, yo, listen, I'm willing to play right back and I'm willing to to focus my career on being a right back. You still might want to go and buy a right back, and you still might want to go and buy a starting right back as well. But the point of being a leader and the point of being able to steer a ship that's this toxic and atmosphere that this fragile, such as Arsenal, is you have to be able to be empathetic to the players. And you have to be able to show yourself to be a manager that is approachable. That is, if you did make a mistake, it's not a mistake and you're out of the door. It's that we can reconcile this situation. If you're willing to be professional, we can reconcile this situation. And it doesn't seem like Arteta's done that with Maitland-Niles. Now, from what we know, I don't think there's been any discipline issues with Maitland-Niles. From what I understand and from what has been released, it seems like Arteta just doesn't like Maitland-Niles because Maitland-Niles wants to be a centre mid. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I'll repeat, I don't agree with Maitland-Niles saying that, and he should have just accepted being a right back from the beginning. But he's humbled himself and he's come to you. You as a manager, you're no longer just a coach. You're a man manager as well. And man manager means that you have to suck in that information. Sometimes you have to take it on the chin, and sometimes you have to humble your own ego, and you have to say, okay, cool, you've humbled yourself. I'm going to humble myself as well. You can come back into the squad. Because no one can tell me on the face of this planet, and especially after the performance that Cedric put in on against Chelsea, that Cedric should have started against Manchester City over Maitland-Niles. No one can tell me that. In fact, I'll go even further than that. Maitland-Niles was our left wing back against Manchester City when we won the semi-finals and we won the FA Cup. And he was started as a left wing back against Chelsea in the final as well. Yeah. So what you could have done is you could have put Tierney as left centre back and you could have put Maitland-Niles as left wing back. But instead he started Kolasinac. Now, like I said to you, I think that he did that to make a point. But no one can convince me that Maitland-Niles isn't better than Cedric and Kolasinac. So you got to be able to reconcile with these guys. You got to be able to show a little bit of empathy. You got to be able to bring that buy-in into for these players into the club. Do you know how far it goes for employees for their manager to be able to show them that, okay, you made a mistake. It's calm. We all make mistakes. You've humbled yourself. You've come and admitted to your mistake. I'm going to integrate you back into the team because you have given me something. At the end of the day, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was our man of the match when we beat was it Man City in the FA Cup semi-final. So it's not like my man's been putting in terrible performance after terrible performance. He's brought something to the table. And like I said, I'm not saying that he should be our starting right back, but he should at least be given a chance. So when I then connect that back to Arteta, now that you're the manager, you got to be able to reconcile with these guys. Instead, it's getting to the point where Maitland-Niles is having to go on bloody Instagram and be unprofessional and bloody hang out our dirty laundry for everyone to see. Tank his value. Arsenal get bumped by it as well. The same thing happened with Guendouzi. The same thing really happened with William Saliba. It can't keep on continuing like this. I don't know a player right now that he's reconciled with after they've made a mistake. I can't think of it. I cannot think of it. I'm not saying that he's a terrible manager. What I'm trying to say is that he's not very socially aware. He doesn't know how to deal with people saying to him, people pushing back. Because if someone pushes his back to him, he just kicks them out of the door. This ain't no dictatorship. That's not the way it works. Sometimes players might have different opinions to you as a manager. Yeah? You might not want to play them. That's fine. But if they then humble themselves and they come to you and they say, all right, you know what? Maybe you're right. I'm willing to go with what you want. Give him that opportunity. Especially when the players that are in his position are a bag of shite. So and you know what the worst thing about it is? The worst thing about it all is you're not successful at the moment. Well, you're losing every game. We haven't scored a single goal. So it's not like you're breaking up a winning formula. It's not like Cedric's putting in performance after performance and you're saying, you know what, no, I've got a right back. Sorry, Maitland-Niles, but I've got a right back. But we've lost like every single game. We haven't scored a goal. Our defense has looked absolutely all over the place, and our right back's probably been the worst of them all. So why wouldn't you give the guy an opportunity? You were making a point. Okay, you were making a point. So at least try and convince the guy that he might have a future at the club. Or if he doesn't have a future, just try selling him on. And then this is where I'd go from Arteta to Edu. Firstly, yeah, what I want to say is whether Arteta starts Maitland-Niles or not, yeah, is a different story. But why do we have a 23, 24-year-old midfielder who can also play right back, who can also play left back, who was a man of the match in a FA Cup semi-final, who won an FA Cup final, who's an England international, Premier League experienced, and a solid player? Why are we going a summer without any bids for him? No bids whatsoever. Chelsea are getting bids for Guehi, whatever his name is, Tomori, bloody Tottenham are selling Sissoko, and all, Man United just sold Daniel James for 30 million, and we're not getting a single offer for Maitland-Niles. So how can this be? If I was Arteta, yeah, and I had Edu in front of me, I'd be pissed as well, because Edu's bringing these problems to the table. I don't want Maitland-Niles at this club, so sell him. You're not being able to sell a player, and then later on, when I don't play him, the guy's going to come to me saying, oh, you're not giving me opportunities. But I wanted to sell you, though. It's this prick over here that's not being able to get you to find me a sale. So when we talk about kind of building a squad and all of this kind of thing, it all comes down to the people that are building that squad, and part of that, and a major part of that, is Edu. Now Edu, since he's been at the club, let's look at the what do you call them, the transactions and the players that he's bought and sold. Yeah, he bought out Partey's release clause. Not a difficult deal to do. Me and you could have done that. Yeah. He signed Gabriel for £23 million, decent deal. He then went on to sign Cedric, and he went on to sign Pablo Mari. Yeah, both of these guys that are absolutely washed up. 27-year-old defender from Brazil. Yeah, he didn't make it in the Premier League, and a 29-year-old right back who was injured when we bought him, and we got him for free, and we gave him a 4-year contract. Yeah, and then he bought Willian. Now, the Willian deal, yeah, is crazy to me, because you signed Willian on a deal, yeah, that verges almost on the same kind of deal that you're giving players like Aubameyang, that you're giving players like Pepe, that you're giving players like Lacazette, that you're giving players like Thomas Partey. Now, that's acceptable for a player that's Premier League proven, no problem, but not for a player that's 32 years old. I am sorry, that is not acceptable for a player that's 32 years old. Anyone on this planet could have told you that a player that has just been playing for Chelsea for the last 8 years is not going to come to Arsenal at the age of 32 and be as motivated and as inspired to win and to play well as he was when he was playing for his rivals in the seasons before. Anyone could have told you that. Yet you went and gave him a 200k a week contract on a 3-year deal, when his own club that had him for the last 8 years only wanted to give him a 2-year deal. How does that work? How does that work? How does that work? At the end of the day, it transpired that he was a shit signing, and Arteta had to field all the what do you call it? All the heat. So the problem that you've got is that he makes the signings or the lack of sales, and then the heat goes all on Arteta. And then when you look at the other players, he paid out Ozil, he paid out Socrates, he paid out Mustafi. Yeah, if you're given the opportunity, me and you and any Tom, Dick and Harry can go and pay out players. Yeah. He sent Kolasinac on loan to his previous club who wanted him. And this season, the only real player that he sold is Willock. And even then, he sold Willock for £25 million, while Daniel James is going for £30 million. Is Daniel James a better player than Willock? I would argue absolutely not, especially with the momentum that Willock had built. So when we're looking at the transactions that EDU has made, it's absolutely shambolic. It is an absolute shambles. How have we gotten to a point where we're not able to get a single offer for a player? How has it got to that point? I don't understand. Every single offer that we get for players are loans. And then you wonder why Arteta's fed up with this guy. Now, I'm not going to get too much in. I don't want to speak too much about Arteta's roles and Edu's roles. Yeah. But what's blatantly obvious is that there is a big problem at the moment at the club in terms of power struggle. Each party is trying to show the ownership that it's not my fault that the club is in this situation. It's Arteta's fault. And proof of the pudding is by Kia's interview the other day that it was actually Arteta that was trying to push the Willian signing. I don't believe that for a second, because if it was Arteta trying to push the Willian signing, Willian would not be signing his contract at his house or Kia's house or wherever it was. Yeah. I don't believe that it was that Arteta was pushing that signing. Now, whether it was Arteta, whether it was Edu, or whoever it was, it's obvious that there's a situation at the moment at the club where people are trying. It's a power struggle. One of them is going to go, yeah, and they're trying to show that it shouldn't be me that goes. It should be the other guy. Kia's comments scream that Edu is under serious threat for losing his job, and he's trying to say that it wasn't his mistake, it was Arteta's mistake. Blame Arteta for the Willian signing. And when Arteta is dropping Kolasinac and Cedric onto the pitch, he's trying to say it's not my fault that I'm getting thumped 5-0. It's Edu's fault because he's giving me these players, or the lack of players. Now, either way, yeah, whether it's Arteta or whether it's Edu, yeah, it's an absolute shit show of a situation, because we as the fans have to just lap it up. We have to wait for these grown-ass men to sort it out between them two, while our team is getting thumped 5-0, losing 3 games in a row, -9 goal difference. And and to be honest with you, I couldn't give a shit who's the problem. What I know is that I want stability at the club. I want the club to function like a serious football club, and they haven't done that. They just absolutely have not done that. We, as a football club, and in 2021, as a club that's trying to aspire to get into the Champions League, should not be turning up to the Etihad with with 4 of our back 5 being Kolasinac holding Chambers and Cedric. That shouldn't be the case, but it was the case. In a season where we were supposed to have the biggest squad overhaul in the last 30 years. But it has been the case. So the situation at the moment is absolutely terrible, and someone needs to take control of this. Someone needs to take control of this. Whether that's Vinay, I don't think he has the minerals to be able to do it. I hope that he proves me wrong. Whether that's the Cronkies, whether they take make a move and they control the situation. I don't know who's going to be able to do that. Yeah, but something needs to be done, because this way that the situation in the club at the moment is absolutely not sustainable. They could both lose their jobs, and that's fair enough. They both lose their jobs, but at the end of the day, it's the club that suffers, because the club at the moment is 20th in the league. I'm not saying that we're going to remain 20th, but at the moment, we're 20th in the league. Yeah? So someone needs to sort this shit out, because it's absolutely not acceptable. But at the same time, this is what you get when you get inexperienced people. They start acting in mad ways. They start acting in ways that's absolutely unacceptable. So where do we go from here? What do we do? Because for me, I don't want to talk about the transfer window at the moment. The transfer window. Whether you can buy a player or you can't buy a player is whatever. I don't think that Arteta has got what he wants. I don't think that the club has got what it wants. And I don't think we're in a situation where we can necessarily fight for top four, especially with a midfield like that. But we're in that situation now. But where do we go forward? For me, yeah, it has shown, categorically it has shown that the changing of a manager won't get you anywhere. If anything, you'll only regress with this manager, with a experienced manager, with a change of coach. We've changed the coach. We went from Arsene Wenger, we went to Unai Emery. We went from 6th to 8th. We went from Unai Emery to Arteta, a different style of coach. We went from 8th to 8th, and potentially less further down the season. So we're not climbing the thing. What we need to do, and what we absolutely have to do, is we have to change tact. We have to change tact. And what we need to do is we need to get some experienced heads above Arteta and then go again. Because at the moment we don't have that. We don't have we have a process in place, but is the system absolutely? You feel like it's got leeches all over it. You feel like it's only 2 years old, but you feel like it's got leeches all over it. You feel like it's already rusty and dusty and poisoned. And the reason for that is because there's too many inexperienced people that don't know how to resolve issues, don't know how to steer a ship. So what we need, in my opinion, I think he's been given long enough now. I don't think Edu is the right man for the job. He's shown that through from not just his work, but his PR through the whole of this summer transfer window. He's been getting bollocking after bollocking. The club hasn't done what it wanted to do, and he's putting out all of these Instagram posts and pictures and people with undesirable people that used to be at the club and have fucked over the club anyway. So this guy, in my opinion, he's not the right guy for the team, and I might be getting the wrong end of the stick. I might be, but this is how I read it, because we've tried the change of manager thing. We tried a young, a vibrant coach with exciting ideas that came from the school of Pep Guardiola. We've tried the experienced Arsene Wenger, who had credit under the bank, who's a legend of the game, who's absolutely adored by Arsenal fans and players around the world. We've tried the Unai Emery way of a serial Europa League winner who's won multiple trophies at PSG, etc., etc., etc. We've tried all of that and it just hasn't worked. So where's the problem? The problem is that we've never consistently had competent people upstairs. Raul Sanelli was not competent. I'm sorry, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but he wasn't competent. He was a thief that was looking to making deals with his agent friends. Edu, in my opinion, is not competent. He hasn't done one deal that screams competence. He hasn't. And Arteta might not be competent, but getting a competent, experienced technical director of football that can make that decision. That director of football might come in, or that technical director might come in and say, all right, I'm going to take a year to look at this, or less, 6 months or 3 months or however long. I'm going to take X amount of months or years to look at this, and then I'm going to make this decision. Arteta, you're not the guy. I'm bringing in X guy. Or Arteta, you are the guy. I'm going to bring you 1, 2, 3 players. That's what should be happening. Not just persevering with a formula that doesn't work just because you want stability. Because that formula won't give you stability. Right now, you've been with this current regime for what is it, 18 months? In my opinion, that stability has only gotten worse. it's only made a more poisonous and uncomfortable atmosphere at the club. And you can't just persevere with it just because you want stability. That's not how it works. They've recruited the right profiles this summer. Absolutely, they've recruited the right profiles this summer that doesn't rely on a single coach. It doesn't rely on a single kind of like technical director or whatever. The next coach that comes in, if they're innovative and they're vibrant and they want to work with and they like to coach and they're very good coaches, they will really enjoy this squad, because this squad is full of talented youngsters. Yeah, and from when I think of Mikel Arteta, I think of players of a coach that, or of a manager that can really coach players, and he showed that at the beginning. And there are examples where that has been the case. When you look at the Smith Rowes and you look at the Sakas and you look at what he's done with Kieran Tierney and what he's done with a few other players in the squad, he's very good at coaching players. So the jury's still out whether he's the right guy, but he needs to be reined in. And then we can check, we can see whether he's the right guy for it or not. But at least it should be a person with more experience that can make that decision. Because you and me, are you confident that Arteta gets sacked tomorrow and then the right guy is brought in the day after? I absolutely am not. The current regime, in the way it is right now, I'm not confident that we would get in a better manager than Arteta. And now I know Arteta outers would say, oh, anyone's better than Arteta. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, whatever, blah, blah. You guys can talk what you want. But that getting another wrong manager in sets us back another 2 years. So it's not as simple as just saying, oh, sack Arteta. Because what has shown you that that getting a new manager is going to be the right decision? And what has shown you that the guys in charge at the moment are going to make the right decision in terms of recruiting a new manager? We need to get an experienced technical director who can really, really put his foot down and control the situation at Arsenal, control the players, control the manager, control the direction of the club, control the relationship with the owners, control the PR of the club. We need this. And I know people will start saying, people have said before, which managers out there, blah blah, for Mikel Arteta. That's true. Which manager would you take after Mikel Arteta? Do you think that they're going to go and buy out Luis Enrique's contract from the Spanish national team? Do you think that they're going to go and buy out Brendan Rodgers' contract? Do you think they're going to go and buy out any contract, in fact? Do you think they're going to give any big contract? Highly unlikely. People keep on saying Antonio Conte. There's no further profile that contradicts the current process that's in place at Arsenal than Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte ain't going to come in and work with a bunch of 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. So we need to forget that. Antonio Conte is a short-term manager. He stays at clubs for 2 years, maximum 3 years. That's pushing it. He stays at clubs for that long, and then he leaves. Do you think the Cronkies are going to want that kind of manager after saying that they want stability and all of that kind of stuff? Absolute nonsense. That's never happening. So if you're looking at Conte and you can't get people like Nagelsmann, and you can't get people like Rodgers or Potter or all of these kind of guys, or any competent manager that's in at a club right now, then who are you gonna get? Because we're not gonna get Zidane. We're not gonna get any good high level manager. And I don't trust this board to get them anyway. So what do you do? However, when you look at the opposite side and you look at the technical directors that are available, or the directors of football that are available, when you think of the Ragnick, when you think of the Luis Campos, or you think of the Michael Edwards that's just become available from Liverpool, these are the kind of guys that you want. The Michael Edwards of this world that got 23 million for Brewster. And Arsenal keep on priding themselves, oh, we want the Liverpool model, oh, we want this and that. Well, this guy's just become available, go and get him. If you want to pride yourself on the Liverpool model, then go and get the right guy for the job. Doesn't matter how much you spend. Because believe me, that is probably the most important role in club football. Having a competent club, director of football. Having a competent director, or having a bunch of directors that are competent, is so important in football. So that's where we stand. Will the club do it? Let's see. I can't see Edu surviving. I think he's done out here. I think Edu's probably the writing's on the wall. I think he's done out here. I think the last couple of weeks that the rumours that have been coming out from the Mirror and all of this kind of stuff, that Edu's job is on the line and this and that, I think he's an absolute dead man walking, because I think he had the chance this summer to really pull it out of the bag, and he's short probably 2 or 3 players, and that's just not good enough. That's absolutely not good enough for a club like Arsenal. For the time that you've had to plan, for the resources that you were provided, that isn't good enough. So let's see what happens with that. I would think that the right decision is getting rid of Edu. As I've said in the video already, the change of manager hasn't shown anything. It hasn't taken us from. It's not like it's pushed us up the table. It hasn't done anything for us. And like I said, I don't trust this current board to be able to recruit a real manager. I mean, when you look at Garlic, for example, Garlic doesn't have experience of recruiting top level managers for a real club. Edu doesn't have that experience. Vinay doesn't have that experience. Vinay is all his life probably known Arsene Wenger, and when he has had to recruit managers, they haven't exactly pulled up trees. So we have to take a different direction. We need to surround an inexperienced manager with experience and competence. That's an absolute must. Otherwise, not just is the manager going to fail, but they're going to fail as well. Because it could be also true that Edu might have suffered at the lack of experience of Mikel Arteta and Vinay. It could be true. I don't know. But what I know for a fact is that he's been incompetent. He has shown his incompetence, and his lack of understanding of the room, his lack of understanding of the club and atmosphere around the club has shown how incompetent he is. I'm not just talking about his transfer dealings. I'm also talking about his PR. So that's the situation that the club is in at the moment. Like I said, let's see what the club is going to do, because I do think in the next month or two there's going to be movement in that space. It absolutely has to, in my opinion, especially before the next window. I think we should be giving the new director of football a good 8-9 months to bed himself in and think about the club before the next summer transfer window. Because the next transfer window is going to be gigantic for Arsenal. This one didn't work out, but the next one is going to have players like Lacazette leaving, where that's massive wages off the books. So let's see what the club end up doing. Like I said, I do think that Edu's probably gone, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that Arteta is necessarily out of the woods, because I think Edu will definitely go, but I don't think that Arteta is necessarily going to survive, because his lack of empathy and his lack of kind of ability to connect on a human level with players can be or could be his downfall. Maybe the Maitland-Niles thing is a wake up call for him. The way he's apparently in now. People are reporting that they've had clear the air talks and he's in Arteta's plans and stuff like that. Maybe that could be a turning point for Arteta to actually show the players that, yo, listen, fine. Here, I'm handing out an olive branch. I'm not kind of like this dictator that I may have been before. He's he's new to the job. He might be he's learning his trade on the job. So hopefully this could be a turning point for him. But like I said, if it's not, and if he continues in the same vein, and the damage might already have been done, to be honest. But if it hasn't, and he does still have the majority of players on side, then it could be a big problem, because if he doesn't have the players on side, then it could be a big problem. If he does, then he still has time to change, and he can still kind of like amend the way that he deals with players, because at the moment, in my opinion, it's not sustainable, and I don't see a world where he survives if he continues in the same vein that he is. Some people will be happy with that, some people won't. But yeah, man, I mean, let's see what happens anyway. Yeah, man. Anyway, how long is left until the transfer window closes? We've got 3.5 hours. Probably no more transfer dealings with Arsenal. We're still probably 2-3 players short, in my opinion, of being able to comfortably get into that top 4 positions. But even with the squad that we do have, I think that we could be hitting top 6. And you never know, if we're there and thereabouts by January, and Europe starts kicking in, and FA Cup begins, and all of this kind of stuff. You never know. Anything can happen. Anything can happen, and that could probably be the point where we benefit from not having Europe. Let's see what happens, man. The club is really stressing us out, but I'm seeing meltdowns, and I've been melting down personally. But you gotta just like see the bigger picture and take it all with think about put it into perspective, and really think about like what's going on. Because personally, I'm happy that there's rumors coming out about Edu losing his job, because it shows that the hierarchy and the owners and whoever is seeing there's chinks in this guy, and he's not doing a good job. My issue would be, and they did this with Willian, if you are not doing okay, we got the wrong person, but we've recognized it and we've moved them on. And this is the same thing with right now with the current setup at Arsenal. Okay, this is the setup we've put in, but we've realized that this is not the right personnel, so we're moving on, and that should be the way it is. But yeah, man, let's see what happens. Let's see if Edu loses his job. What do you guys think, though? Do you think it's Arteta? Do you think it's Edu? What do you think of the current situation with Maitland-Niles? And how do you guys rate the transfer window this season? Because it is one of our most important in recent history. So yeah, let me know, guys, and like and subscribe to the channel. I didn't do a City post game because it just was too much of a piss take, and I just wanted to take in the rest of the transfer window and see where we go from there. But yeah, man, anyway, international break now. I'll be doing a video about the transfer window later on and rating the transfer window out of 10 and stuff like that, so watch out for that video. But yeah, thanks guys. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.